What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Takt Destiny. This is episode. Are we on 4?
4?
4, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So with me, as always, I have Loose Pit.
Yeah, I mean, there was not a lot to talk about in this episode. It was just, well, we were just mostly showed to, like certain parts of the US of what happened after the D2 attack. I mean, you pretty much get to see a result of it. So the episode starts off with Takt and the others fighting. Well, like I would say they were more or less training by fighting this D2 out in the fields, and so they managed to take it down, but it was because Lenny ended up helping them out. So eventually they end up running into like a farmer named Jonathan, who's working in on a farm field like down in Las Vegas, and we get to see a result of like what happened to the city after, like I would say, a decade after the D2 attack. You can clearly see like the streets are empty. It's not lit up as you would normally see. It's just all farm fields like all over the place.
It is interesting that there are just a bunch of farm fields. I guess it kind of makes sense. Like if you have, I mean, maybe if you have like fertile land where you can grow crops, that they would just turn everything into turn a lot of places into farmland because in like a post-apocalyptic setting, there's no longer like normal food distribution or anything like that. So I guess more people would start growing their own crops and trying to get food that way.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that that area of Las Vegas is pretty fertile.
Like because as we know, like, Nevada is a desert. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of surprising that. I mean, I guess there probably is like fertile land there, but I wouldn't imagine it's easy to find considering most of it's a desert. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, considering that how deserted Las Vegas is, you have to wonder what other places of the United States look like. Like, consider like what would like Nashville, Tennessee look like, because that's pretty much the music capital of the of the country.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they end up going like, there, considering that its reputation.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be on the way there while they're on the way to New York, if they're already in Las Vegas. So, but yeah, so they end up meeting up with Jonathan and his wife, and at the same time they meet up with the owner of the farming establishment named Mr. Lang, though he looks a lot more, sophisticated than just a regular farmer. I mean, he has like 2 bodyguards just like following him around.
I guess because they were trying to say he's like some wealthy businessman or something, as opposed to the farmers who are like working class people.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see the reason why later in the episode, but first they end up visiting Jonathan and his wife's home, just discussing like how life has been after the D2's attack, and they say, well, under their belief, they say like peace is starting to come back, and they'll eventually get back to their normal lives again. But Takt and the others don't really believe that after what happened to them after the D2's attack. I forget what it's pronounced. The Symphonica Festival, at their hometown.
Yeah. I mean, and then we just get some dialogue between like Lenny and Takt, and it's just more dialogue scenes between them, and also just Cassette and what was the other girl's name? Annie or her sister?
I think it was
Anna. Yeah. But of course, eventually Cassette, I guess she senses the presence of D2s, so she goes to check it out by smashing through the wall, kind of similarly to how she did in the first episode, and ends up in a casino, which, yeah.
Yeah. Well, first, like we find out Lenny is also looking into the whole casino business. So he takes a visit. He makes another visit to Mr. Lang, saying that he wants to end up playing. Now, at first, I thought he wanted to play music, but he just pulls out like a whole bag of like money out of his bag, and Mr. Lang invites him into the secret underground casino within the city. Um, so and we find out that of course Mr. Lang is kind of a it's obviously corrupt in some means because apparently like Lenny points out that he's been given a government loan to help cultivate the farm, but he mostly used all that money to help build the casino underground.
Yeah, I mean, so of course he ends up being a typical like shady businessman character, I guess, where he's exploiting the
Yeah,
farmers
and
for his own his own gains.
yeah, and of course at the same time, like you said, Takt and the others managed to find the underground casino. Mostly with the help of with Cosette, or Destiny as she likes to be called, and of course they get into like a small scuffle with the security guards inside the casino, and of course they end up breaking the place first, and I'm surprised like no one ended up running away due to all that commotion. But of course everyone just starts evacuating once at least 3 D2s start emerging from underground.
Yeah, yeah, and then we get a fight scene with the D2s, with Titan also helping out in the scene as well. I feel like in these episodes they kind of end up relying a lot on Titan, and maybe just I guess it makes sense because they're still fairly inexperienced in combat, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But of course we get to see Takt starting to learn and adapt the more he fights. Pretty much just showing, because what was it? Lenny tells Takt that he has to just like when he's playing music, that he has to be in sync with Destiny whenever he fights. So eventually he starts taking advantage of that, and of course Takt and Destiny manage to take down all 3 of the D2s on their own without the use of Lenny and Titan helping them out every time.
Yeah. And of course the businessman, he tries to get away. Tries to get away with all the money until Titan catches up with him. So yeah, and that's more or less how things end. Like they of course say, they leave the farm and go off to the next destination. I mean, I thought it was an okay episode. Like it kind of feels like, in a way, this feels kind of like it's becoming like a Monster of the Week sort of thing, where they'll go to a different place and they'll probably end up fighting like another D2 or something. And I'm kind of like wondering if there's going to be like some kind of a plot that ends up. Well, I mean, we know what the plot is so far, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's going to have this formula of just they're going to go to another place and fight another D2. And it'll just keep going like that. But I kind of like, I don't know. I mean, because like we know the plot is just them getting set to New York, and I'm kind of hoping there might be something more that ends up happening in the series that aside from them just fighting a new D2 each week. Maybe something else, I don't know. But I mean, it's okay so far. Like the plot itself is not great. It's serviceable, I guess. I mean, the characters are decent for the most part. But I'm kind of hoping that there is maybe some more elements that get introduced later on. Because right now it's just kind of it's fairly simplistic with what's going on. So I mean, what did you think of the episode?
It was okay. I mean, I'm guessing like you get to see Destiny and Takt's growth when they're fighting off the D2s, but I'm certainly hoping for a little bit more in terms of their development. By the end of this episode, of course, Lenny and Titan end up leaving the group.
Right, yeah.
Because they apparently have their own mission by going after these corrupt business people, taking advantage of the hardworking people, like what happened in the Las Vegas farm. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get an episode specifically for them, or if we're just going to be tied to Takt Tak and his group for the remainder of the road trip.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if this entire series is going to be consisting of this of the road trip of them getting to New York. So yeah,
Yeah, and there's another thing before or before Tak and Lenny end up going their separate ways. Lenny mentions that he knows Tak's father on a personal level, and that I think there's something about like Tak's father that we don't know about if Lenny knows him that well. So it could possibly answer how like Tak became like a conductor in the first place.
yeah, maybe they'll go into that later on in the series. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I mean, it was okay. I mean, it just showed a little bit more of the world building of what happened to parts of the country after the D2 attack. I mean, you can we clearly see the results of like a city like Las Vegas can be pretty much just I don't know, like transformed into something completely different than what we usually see in normal times.
I guess it'll be interesting to see the other places they go to in the U.S. And just see, I guess, how everything has affected those places. I'm kind of hoping they'll be a little bit different though each place they go to, and it's not like they're not all affected in the same way. I guess that could make for some interesting things if they go to like a new place and there's something different about it, or maybe some different problem, or some different way that they're dealing with the post-apocalyptic world. But yeah, I don't really have too much else other than that to say about it. Like it was an okay episode. Like I said, like they're just, I felt like after watching it, I already knew there wouldn't be too much to really discuss, because it felt like it was over pretty quick, and the whole setup was pretty pretty simplistic, and I feel like I've kind of seen this kind of setup before, where there's like some kind of corrupt businessman taking advantage of people in a town or something, and the heroes have to try to take him down or whatever. It felt very similar to something like, the whole setup is very it's been done before, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I guess, it was still like, serviceable for an episode. It just wasn't, the most interesting setup, I guess. The animation and the art style, of course, is still pretty consistently good. I mean, I can't even really tell anymore if like these are even being outsourced. I mean, I'm sure they are. I mean, outsourcing is, from what I've learned, is a pretty common thing in anime industry, and sometimes I guess we don't even realize it happens. So I mean, who knows if these episodes are being outsourced, but even if they are, like, I really can't tell a difference in terms of its quality from like.
I mean, it's hard for me to really believe that they could somehow outsource this, these episodes if both Mappa and Madhouse are collaborating at the same time.
I mean, that makes it even more confusing because they're both collaborating on this, so you would think well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there might be some things they would have to outsource, but you wouldn't think it happens as frequently because they're both working together on this. So yeah, maybe it's not happening as much as we think it is, but I don't know. I guess I'll leave it up to other people who are better at figuring that kind of stuff out, because just from watching it, like I said, I can't tell. So maybe some people on the internet will like dissect the episode and be able to tell like what part, like, if there are parts of it that were outsourced or not, because like they did with episode 2. But yeah, so that all being said, until next Tuesday, we will see you all next time.